What if I told you that one of the most devastating novels ever written actually contains the most powerful message about hope and humanity you'll ever encounter? Today, we're diving deep into Cormac McCarthy's masterpiece, The Road, a book that will fundamentally change how you view survival, love, and what it truly means to be human. This isn't just another post-apocalyptic story. This is a profound meditation on the bonds between father and son that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about strength, sacrifice, and the will to keep going when the world has literally ended. Published in 2006, The Road represents Cormac McCarthy's most emotionally raw and philosophically complex work. This Pulitzer Prize-winning novel emerged from McCarthy's own fears about the world his young son would inherit, transforming personal anxiety into universal truth. Unlike typical dystopian fiction that focuses on societal collapse or political commentary, The Road strips away all distractions to examine the essential question: what makes us human when humanity itself seems lost? McCarthy's sparse, almost biblical prose creates an atmosphere of desolation that feels both otherworldly and terrifyingly real. The unnamed father and son traverse a post-apocalyptic America where civilization has crumbled, cannibalism is common, and hope appears extinct. Yet within this darkness, McCarthy weaves a story of unconditional love that transcends circumstance. The novel's power lies not in its apocalyptic setting, but in its intimate portrayal of a relationship tested by impossible circumstances. Every page forces readers to confront their own assumptions about morality, survival, and the lengths we go to protect those we love. The Road doesn't offer easy answers or comfortable resolutions. Instead, it presents the most fundamental human struggles in their purest form, creating a reading experience that lingers long after the final page. The Road follows an unnamed father and son as they journey south through a devastated American landscape, pushing a shopping cart containing their meagre possessions. The world has been destroyed by an unnamed catastrophe that has killed most life, blotted out the sun, and left the remaining humans struggling for survival in a grey, ash-covered wasteland. The father, slowly dying from illness, knows their journey south toward warmer climates represents their only chance for survival. Along the way, they encounter various threats: roving gangs of cannibals, desperate survivors willing to kill for supplies, and the constant spectre of starvation and exposure. The father carries a pistol with 2 bullets, prepared to use them on himself and his son rather than let them fall into the hands of cannibals. Throughout their journey, the father struggles to maintain his son's innocence and moral compass while teaching him the harsh realities of their new world. He repeatedly tells the boy they are carrying the fire, a metaphor for maintaining humanity and goodness in a world that has lost both. The son, born after the catastrophe, represents hope for the future and serves as his father's moral compass, often showing more compassion than his pragmatic father. The novel's structure mirrors their physical journey, building tension through encounters with other survivors while developing the emotional core of their relationship. As the father's health deteriorates, the urgency of their mission intensifies, creating a race against time that drives the narrative forward while exploring themes of sacrifice, love, and the transmission of values from one generation to the next. The opening sequence establishes the novel's tone and central relationship dynamics. The father awakens from dreams of the pre-apocalyptic world to find himself in a reality of ash and cold. McCarthy immediately establishes the tenderness between father and son, showing how they've developed survival routines while maintaining their bond. The father's protective instincts are evident as he checks on his sleeping son, and we see how their love provides warmth in a literally and figuratively cold world. Their discovery of an abandoned supermarket becomes a crucial early scene that demonstrates their survival skills and moral code. While scavenging for supplies, they encounter another survivor who steals their cart. The father's pursuit and retrieval of their belongings, forcing the thief to strip naked, reveals the harsh pragmatism survival demands. However, the son's distress at this treatment shows his maintained moral sensitivity, creating tension between necessary survival actions and retained humanity. The encounter with the lightning-struck man represents one of the novel's most powerful examinations of compassion versus survival. When they meet a burned, dying man on the road, the son wants to help, while the father argues they cannot spare resources. This scene crystallizes the central conflict between maintaining humanity and ensuring survival. The father's decision to give the man some food, influenced by his son's pleading, shows how the boy serves as his moral guide. The basement discovery serves as the novel's most horrifying sequence, when they find a house where people are kept as livestock for cannibals. The father's quick thinking saves them from being trapped, but the son's traumatic reaction to seeing captive humans reveals the psychological cost of their journey. This scene demonstrates how the father must constantly balance protecting his son's innocence with preparing him for reality's harshness. Their encounter with the old man named Ely becomes a philosophical centerpiece of the novel. The father's initial suspicion gives way to reluctant sharing of food, while Ely's pessimistic worldview contrasts with the father's determination to continue. Their conversation about God, meaning and survival in a destroyed world provides insight into different responses to catastrophe. The son's natural kindness toward Ely, again, shows his role as the moral centre of their small family unit. The discovery of the underground bunker represents the novel's emotional and narrative climax. Finding this cache of supplies feels like divine intervention, providing them with food, clothes and temporary safety. Their time in the bunker allows for rare moments of joy and normalcy, as they eat well and rest safely. However, the father's knowledge that they cannot stay forever adds poignancy to their brief happiness. The final confrontation with the road rat who threatens to kill the boy forces the father to use violence to protect his son. This scene shows how far the father will go to defend his child, but also how violence affects both of them. The son's continued distress about the moral implications of their survival choices demonstrates his maintained humanity despite the world's brutality. The father's death scene provides the novel's emotional culmination. As his illness finally overcomes him, he must prepare his son for survival alone. Their final conversations reveal the depth of their love and the father's hope that his son will continue carrying the fire of human decency. The father's final words and gestures encapsulate the novel's central themes of love, sacrifice, and the transmission of values between generations. The concept of carrying the fire emerges as the novel's central metaphor for maintaining humanity in inhuman circumstances. The father repeatedly tells his son they are the good guys carrying the fire, representing moral values, compassion, and hope. This metaphor teaches us that even in our darkest moments, we have the responsibility to maintain our ethical standards and human decency. The fire represents not just survival, but the preservation of what makes life worth living. Unconditional love transcends all circumstances, as demonstrated by the father's complete devotion to his son's welfare. Every decision the father makes prioritizes his son's survival and moral development over his own comfort or safety. This teaches us that true love involves sacrifice, and that the bonds between parent and child can provide strength even in impossible situations. The father's love becomes a form of heroism that requires no recognition or reward. The preservation of innocence in a corrupt world emerges as both a challenge and a necessity. The father struggles to protect his son's moral compass while teaching him survival skills. This balance teaches us that protecting others' innocence isn't about shielding them from reality, but about helping them maintain their humanity despite harsh truths. The son's continued compassion proves that goodness can survive even in the worst conditions. Hope exists independent of circumstances, as shown by the father's determination to continue their journey despite overwhelming odds. His commitment to reaching the coast, even when he knows he's dying, demonstrates that hope is a choice rather than a response to favourable conditions. This teaches us that hope is an active decision to continue striving for better outcomes regardless of current difficulties. The transmission of values between generations represents our most important legacy. Throughout their journey, the father focuses less on teaching survival skills than on maintaining his son's moral foundation. This emphasis shows us that what we pass to the next generation matters more than material wealth or even physical survival. Values, ethics, and love constitute the true inheritance we leave behind. Community and connection remain essential for human survival and meaning. Even in their isolated journey, the father and son's relationship demonstrates that humans need each other for more than physical survival. Their bond provides emotional sustenance and moral grounding that individual survival cannot achieve. This teaches us that even in our most difficult times, maintaining connections with others provides strength and purpose. The choice between pragmatic survival and moral behaviour creates constant tension throughout the novel. The father must repeatedly decide whether to prioritise immediate survival needs or maintain ethical standards. These choices teach us that maintaining our moral compass often requires difficult decisions, and that integrity sometimes demands sacrifice. The son's influence on these decisions shows how moral clarity can emerge from the most unexpected sources. Resilience emerges from purpose rather than circumstances. The father's physical deterioration contrasts with his unwavering commitment to his son's future. This teaches us that true resilience comes from having something worth fighting for rather than from favourable conditions. Purpose provides the energy to continue when circumstances would otherwise defeat us. The power of storytelling and memory to preserve meaning appears throughout the novel as the father shares stories of the world before. These narratives teach us that maintaining connections to better times and higher ideals helps sustain hope during difficult periods. Stories become vehicles for transmitting values and maintaining human dignity when external conditions threaten to erode both. Faith transcends traditional religious boundaries to encompass trust in human goodness and future possibilities. The father's faith in his son and in the possibility of finding good people demonstrates that belief in something greater than immediate circumstances provides strength for continuing. This teaches us that faith, whether religious or secular, offers essential support during our darkest moments. The Road stands as one of literature's most powerful examinations of human resilience, love, and moral courage. McCarthy's masterpiece transcends its post-apocalyptic setting to reveal eternal truths about what sustains us through life's most difficult challenges. The novel's enduring impact lies not in its depiction of societal collapse, but in its profound illustration of how love and hope persist, even when everything else has been stripped away. This book challenges readers to examine their own capacity for sacrifice, their commitment to moral principles under pressure, and their ability to maintain hope in seemingly hopeless circumstances. The father and son's journey becomes a mirror for our own struggles with difficult choices, moral complexity, and the responsibility to protect and nurture what we value most. The Road ultimately argues that humanity's greatest strength lies not in our ability to survive, but in our determination to remain human while surviving. The novel's final image of the son, continuing the journey with new companions, suggests that goodness and community can emerge even from the darkest circumstances. McCarthy's vision, while unflinching in its portrayal of human capacity for evil, ultimately affirms the power of love to transcend even the most devastating circumstances, making The Road both a warning and a promise about the indomitable nature of human spirit.